Let's be honest for a moment. We're all constantly trying to learn something new, if it's a different sales technique, the latest AI tool, or the next productivity hack, hoping it will give us some secret advantage. But most of it does not stick and does not provide the benefits we were hoping for. So in this video, using a real-life example, I'll show you why you must start with a system first and why it's the only way to make your new skills sustainable and a real long-term competitive advantage. Now, quick heads up before we dive in. This is not another productivity hack or a quick fix. Frankly, I think those have very little benefit. This is a fundamental shift in how you operate and build long-term advantage by acquiring new skills that are most important for you. And I will explain it straight to the point, zero fluff, and just using 100% strategic depth. Hi, I'm Dan Mintz. For the last 15 years, I've helped dozens of ambitious individuals 10x their performance and achieve their goals using the 12-week year system. All right, let's dive in. I want to start with a real-life example of Rachel. She's an architect I work with for several months. Now, Rachel runs a small architectural firm in New Jersey with about 10 employees. Like many ambitious professionals, she kept trying to upgrade herself with learning new software tools or taking those new business courses, sales method, learning marketing strategies, you name it. Now, on paper, it sounds great, right? She's motivated, investing in herself, and trying to level up her practice. But there was actually a problem, and I guess you kind of sensed it here. The problem was she was trying to learn skills in 5 different directions at the same time. And I think all of us know this pattern. We start a new online course, for instance, we get excited, and then after 3 weeks, the energy fades and we jump to the next thing. And I think all of us know this pattern. We start a new online course, for instance, we get excited, and then after 3 weeks, the energy fades and we jump to the next thing. I see this cycle all the time, even with high achievers, so please do not feel you're alone in this. I sinned with this many times. Take her long-term vision, for example. Well, you can't take it because she didn't have one. If Rachel had defined a clear 3-year direction, for instance, it would have changed everything. And how is that? If her vision, for instance, was to become the go-to architect for high-value residential clients, then most of her effort should have gone into learning, marketing, brand positioning, and, client development. But let's say, on the other hand, if her vision was to run a highly efficient studio powered by advanced software and automation, then her time would have gone into learning, technical mastery, IA systems, workflow system, process design, and so on. These are 2 very different futures and 2 completely different skill paths. Now, without having that anchor, that vision, that North Star, all skills felt equally important. So she tried to learn all of them at once without any direction. And because there was no vision, there was no real goals either. No yearly goals, no 12-week goals, nothing that gave her a clear target for the next quarter. So she never had a sense of what progress really looked like. For example, if her 12-week goal had been to create a predictable pipeline of 5 qualified leads each month, then her learning plan would have centered around marketing systems, outreach, email, or improving her proposal process. If her 12-week goal had been to cut her project delivery time by 30%, being really efficient, then the plan would have focused on mastering another software tool, redesigning her workflow, or giving new skills to her team. But without having any goals, everything kind of blended together, right? There's no plan. So there wasn't a plan, there wasn't a timeline. There wasn't a way to choose what mattered now versus what could wait. And because there was no vision and no goals, there was also, obviously, no execution plan. So Rachel didn't know which skills to prioritize, how much time to invest in each new time she acquires a new skills, or how to integrate new skills into her weekly schedule. She wasn't lacking talent or motivation, she simply lacked the operating system that turns learning into measurable progress. So here's where things actually changed for Rachel. At some point, she realized the problem wasn't that she wasn't learning enough. The problem was that she had no operating system to turn that learning into actual progress. When we started working together, I introduced her to the 12-week year and my enhanced version of it, which is a 12-week breakthrough. So we didn't use, another theory. It was a very practical thing. It used as a structure she could actually run her studio on, like kind of an operating system. And the first shift was designing her vision. Up until then, she never really stopped, and I see many people like that. She never really stopped to answer, what kind of practice do I want to build? The really tough questions, the questions that you need to ask when you're operating a business. So through our conversations, she realized what she really wanted was the following: to become the go-to architect for high-value residential clients in her area of New Jersey, with a studio that runs effectively, efficiently, without her drowning in every and each detail. That was her vision. I just asked the questions and gave her a framework to think it through. From that vision, we built very clear 12-week goals instead of 10 vague intentions. So the first one was create a predictable pipeline of 5 qualified high-value residential leads per month. So now learning had a clear job, a clear destination. Skills were no longer random. They had to serve that one outcome, that one result. So together we identified just 3 strategic skills for this current 12-week cycle. So the first one is the ability to design a simple, clear positioning message for high-value residential clients. Second is to have the ability to run a structured consultation call that filters for serious prospects. And the third one was the ability to improve her proposal process so good that clients would say yes faster and in a faster rate. That's it. So not starting to learn any new software, no 10-course marketing bundle, just the skills that move the one needle. Then we did the part almost nobody does. We actually put it into the calendar, right? Your time needs to reflect your highest priorities. So every Tuesday and Thursday morning, she blocked 60 minutes for marketing and positioning work, refining her message, updating her website copy, building a simple outreach list, and so on. Also, once a week, she reviewed recordings of her consultation calls and tweaked her questions. Fridays, she spends about 45 to 60 minutes improving tiny pieces of her proposal template. So inside the 12-week breakthrough, all of that lived in a simple weekly plan and a scorekeeping mechanism. For instance, the number of qualified inquiries, number of consultations booked, number of proposals sent, and so on. So no drama, just concrete, clear numbers. By week 4, she was already seeing and feeling different conversations. What does it mean? People were reaching out because they felt that she was kind of the exact architect they were looking for, because she was more precise. By week 7, her proposals were landing faster, less back and forth, more clear yes and no decisions, and so on. By week 10, she wasn't chasing 5 different skills at different directions. She was repeating the same few deliberately every single week. And at the end of this 12 weeks, the first 12-week year, the first cycle, she was already consistently hitting and even exceeding more than 5 qualified leads per month. Revenue, because of that, started to go up. But more importantly, the work started to fit her vision, which is the most important thing for long-term success. So better clients, better projects, and less chaos. And this is really the real point. Rachel didn't suddenly become more disciplined or more talented. What she did was install a system, in this case the 12-week year structure or the 12-week breakthrough framework, that forced her learning to stick and translate into results that are clearly tied to her strategic vision and goals. So if you recognize yourself in Rachel, always learning, rarely compounding, the issue is almost never your potential. The issue is that you're possibly missing a system or a foundation that sits underneath the way you acquire skills, and you need to tie and understand what you need to learn in terms of new skills, and it needs to be tied into your vision, into your goals, and have a clear execution system where you can use the skills for the long term.